Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. Got another Master Duel video for you. Coming at you with some branded Elfnote. I've personally been sleeping on this deck for a little bit too long. When the new branded stuff first came out, I did hear about this variant, but I thought it was just kind of like a fun, more niche thing. But no, it's actually really easy to bridge from Elfnote into branded. We're going to start with the going second game up against regular branded here, just a 40 card variant. And right off the rip, you're going to notice me using Ash Blossom against their Fallen of the White Dragon. They're going to kind of perplexingly chain Fallen of the Virtuous, but I do maintain that if your opponent leads with Fallen of the White Dragon, this is a really good Ash Blossom target, because of course this combo line does not use branded fusion, so should no longer be trying to save Ash Blossom for just branded fusion. Hitting Fallen of the White Dragon is as good, if not better, of a target. Yeah, I think here my opponent got a little bit confused. I think they might have thought Ash Blossom was like Valor or Imperm, where if you destroy the card, you can dodge the negate. But no, that's not the case. And for those wondering why that's not the case, it's because Ash Blossom just states that it negates the effect, whereas Imperm and Valor specifically target a face-up card on the field, then on resolution, they negate the targeted card. So Ash Blossom does not target, it just activates in response to an effect and negates that effect. Well, in response to a card or effect. So they will get to set another Fallen of the Virtuous, so it's not like they lose access to it, but now I know they have it, so I can play around it a little bit better. Although, to be fair, I'd pretty much assume they had Fallen of the Virtuous face down anyway, if it's branded and they set to. So we have a few different options to begin our plays here. I'm going to begin with a Medius Sapir. We'll put back this Fragilus Harmonia because we didn't really end up needing it. They're going to Ash Blossom our Medius here, which is totally fine. I definitely expected the Medius to eat some kind of disruption. I thought it might have been Fallen of the Virtuous on the Elfnote Power Patron, but we'll definitely take the Ash Blossom here too. Now we're going to summon the Ecclesia, and here the opponent is going to make another mistake regarding targeting. So Fallen of the Virtuous obviously will target a face-up card and then destroy it. However, we have Incredible Ecclesia the Virtuous, which has a quick effect that allows us to tribute it and special summon a Sword Soul monster or Fallen of Albaz from our hand or deck. So by tributing as a cost, I actually am no longer on the field. The Ecclesia is. So now the Fallen of the Virtuous no longer has anything to destroy, and I still get the benefits of my Ecclesia, because I was just going to summon Fallen of the White Dragon from my deck anyway. I kind of find it a little bit weird my opponent made those two misplays, because it seemed like with the Fallen of the Virtuous misplay they made earlier, they knew about targeting, but then it kind of seems like with this Ecclesia misplay they didn't or something, but all good. Okay, so here they're going to use Ecclesia to try to go for Albaz. Before I summoned to the Tinea, I was kind of thinking about if I should just go for like Ecclesia and the Dark Dragon or something here, but I decided to go for the Tinea, try to get the Elfnote Welcome Home and go into Baron de Fleur as soon as possible. My opponent actually ended up conceding right after this, because I think they realized that they were trying to summon Fallen of Albaz at the wrong timing. If they wanted to summon like the Mirror Jade, they would definitely need to wait until I had a Fusion Synchro Xyz or Link monster. They could have still summoned the Dragon that devours the Dogma. Maybe that's what they were planning, but of course I have my own copy of the Fallen of the Virtuous in hand, meaning I can just destroy Fallen of Albaz and it won't get to resolve. So this opponent did make quite a few misplays, but I think given what their hand contained and what mine did, I think we still would have been able to push through and win the duel regardless. Like between the Ash Blossom and the Fragilus Harmonia, I think even if they had played a little bit more optimally, we still would have had a lot of opportunities to counter anything that could throw at us. So there's that first replay. Let me show you the next one here. Okay, this time we're up against Red Dragon Archfiend, which I haven't played this deck in forever. So you're going to see me make a misplay here. Well, I'll just point it out when I make it. It'll be pretty obvious too, but really hoping for that new Red Dragon Archfiend support soon. I'm really eager to get back to the deck once it's got that updated support. Okay, so they're going to begin with Special Summon Crimson Resonator. We do have the Maxx, but they have an Ash Blossom, so it's kind of a moot point here. But I'm already looking at the Crimson Resonator as my Ash Blossom target here, because that's how they extend into their bigger Synchro monsters. Now they're going to summon Bone Archfiend, to which I'm going to do some turn 0 Elfnote plays, which right now, since June Pride isn't out, mostly just consists of summoning Regina, pulling Lucina out of the deck, swapping, and bouncing. But you might notice the card that I bounced was Bone Archfiend, which, yeah, has the ability to just special summon itself from hand. It's going to cost some another card, but I really obviously should just bounce the Crimson Resonator here, so definitely a misplay on my part. They're going to send the Synchron Resonator, and now they can Synchro for level 6. That's going to go for the Red Rising Dragon. Red Rising Dragon effect gets to revive the Crimson Resonator, and this is the effect we want to Ash Blossom, because they could special summon 2 Resonator monsters here, and I am not about that. Alright, so that's going to get negated, and then we are going to have to lose our board, unfortunately, to the Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend. If I didn't have Medius Appear in hand, I would have gotten super punished here for bouncing the Bone Archfiend earlier. They're going to set 1 card before passing back over to us, but as mentioned, we do have Medius Appear. I'd also get really punished if this face down was like Imperm or something, but thankfully it's not. So yeah, never punished. All right, here is Ecclesia and the Dark Dragon. In this variant, if you synchro for level 8, a lot of the time, you're actually going to be going for Ecclesia and the Dark Dragon, even before clearing Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. Not that we can make Crystal Wing here, obviously, but yeah, Ecclesia is kind of your go-to level 8 target. So here is Time to Stand Up. That's just going to summon 2 Resonator monsters from deck, which ends up gaining them some life points. I really don't care about this. At this point, I was already pretty confident I wasn't going to be able to OTK my opponent, even if they were at an 8k, with the 2 defense mode bodies in play. So if they want to summon these tuners, that's completely fine. I'm just going to basically try to set up some negates as well as enough, you know, presence on board to battle over all their stuff. And as mentioned before, we are on Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon, which is an excellent means of doing both of those things. This can not only battle over the Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend through its effect, but then when my other monster battles over the Vision Resonator and it tries to search a card, well, of course, we can simply respond with the Crystal Wing effect in order to negate it. Alright, so that's going to be negated. My opponent's in top deck mode, but I'm not done yet because I can still activate Ecclesia and the Dark Dragon. I actually probably should have just done this beforehand. I could have gotten at least a little bit more damage in, but I don't know. At the same time, I already knew I wasn't going to be able to OTK, and I knew they were going to be in top deck mode, and I've got multiple negates. It's like, realistically, what could they possibly do here, right? And it's not just the Crystal Wing and the Baron de Fleur. Lest we forget, I also have the Rhapsidia in play, so I can use that to send away the Fallen of the White. Then I can revive one of my Elfnote monsters, and conveniently enough, we will also end up negating the Soul Resonator here. And on top of that, I can even use Regina to summon out Lucina. And then when they go to use the Bone Archfiend effect, we'll just negate with the Crystal Wing. Of course, even if they had managed to get bodies on board, they could be bounced with the Lucina here as well. And they are going to ultimately end up conceding, which of course makes a lot of sense here. So I liked this replay because I thought it showed a lot of our like pushing through a board, even if it's not a very like impressive board state, just pushing through a board state where we're not OTKing and just setting up for the next turn. That's something that I don't feel like a lot of people talk about enough is, you know, we talk about setting up turn 1 boards, we talk about OTKing through boards, but sometimes your combo is enough to OTK and you have to set up for turn 3 and then 4. Or I guess 1 and 3 if you went first. But yeah, I think that's always something worth considering as well. Anyway, let's go on to the next game. All right, this will be a going first game against Magnet Warrior, and it's going to be an absolute Maxx slugfest. But my opponent started this Maxx fight, so yeah, we're going to get hit with the Maxx on our turn 1. But we also have one of ours here as well. All right, we're going to begin with special summoning Tinia from our hand. Tinia F will place the Welcome Home. I decided to pivot into Fallen of the White Dragon, and that might look a little bit weird to randomly do mid-combo, like as I'm, you know, placing the Welcome Home, but as I'm summoning the Tinia, my opponent's getting past priority, and then as I'm activating the Welcome Home, they're still getting past priority. So I was kind of thinking about using the Fallen of the White to kind of bait out some responses, and possibly I kind of considered going into Omega here and trying to hand rip whatever hand trap was, you know, activating here, but end up being Maxx, so they'll get the draw off the Fallen of the White Dragon. And then I'm just going to synchro, give them one more draw, go into Ecclesia and the Dark Dragon before I set Fallen of the Virtuous and pass back over to them. So given that it was Maxx, I am actually really glad I end up summoning the Fallen of the White Dragon before activating Welcome Home, because if I had activated Welcome Home and they had chained Maxx, then at that point I probably would have just gotten... See, I wouldn't have had really many good plays. Regina gives them another draw to set up what, Lucina bounce? That's not really that great. The other options are what? I could go for just Lucina and add Elfnote Power Patron, summon Synchro. I guess that would get me a Baron de Fleur for giving them 2 draws, but no, I really like having the Ecclesia and the Dark Dragon here. because it offers a lot of variety of responses in the form of like Fawn of Albaz being able to eat multiple targets. So obviously we want to make sure that we pop the Quackimir Guardian here, because it's going to negate and destroy our monster effects, including the Maxx. A pretty easy target for Fawn of the Virtuous for me. They're going to try to summon a supplier from hand, but this is where we fire off the Maxx. And I'm so glad it resolved, because if it didn't, I'd be in a lot more trouble here. Immediately, we're finding Ash Blossom. Love to see it. Not going to negate this search. I don't care if they get another Quackimir Guardian they can't normal summon. Sigma Minus is going to activate, fusing with the Quackimir Supplier in hand to summon out the Plasma Magnum. Now, they've got 3 cards left in hand I don't know about. We find Jewel and Lockbird here, but I choose the Ash Blossom. I probably should have just saved the Ash Blossom for the quick play spell that the Conduction Warrior Linear Magnum plus minus would have added here. But, or no, that's the effect monster. This is Conduction Warrior Plasma Magnum. I also could have drolled, but obviously that would have stopped me from getting draws off my own Maxx, which I definitely do not want to do here. All right, so the Linear Magnum's going to dump Telucion, extra normal summon the Sigma Plus. They're going to overlay for the Gallant Granite, and I know this is going to try to search the Block Dragon. Definitely do not want them to have access to that, so I'm going to go for Ecclesia the Dark Dragon effect, summoning Fallen of Albaz from my deck. Now Fallen of Albaz pitches the Fuelos, and I can fuse with the Gallant Granite in order to make the Mirror Jade before they have an option to be able to search the Block Dragon there. They'll revive the Sigma Minus. Here they're going to use Magnet Bonding to fuse, and I made a misplay here, one of many in this video, wherein I banished the Plasma Magnum, totally forgetting that Magnet Bonding can just fuse from the graveyard and banish pile anyway. So my plan was, oh, they can't go for Flux Ashenfeld if they don't have a level 5 or higher target, but they were always going to have a level 5 or higher target. Not the end of the world, though. We can just use Fidralis Harmonia here in order to pop the Flux Ashenfeld. And of course, we also get to send another Synchro Monster to the graveyard. And I think here I end up actually sending the, Packbit Enigmaster. Now, Flux Ashenfeld revives Quackimir's Supplier. I'll use the Packbit in order to push the Sigma Minus into the spell trap zone. And I did that because the Telucian was in the graveyard, and that needs Sigma Plus and Sigma Minus. So by keeping it out of the graveyard, they don't get access to that extender. And they just concede. Obviously, I've got, more draws off my Maxx, more opportunities to hand trap them. My board state is already looking way better than theirs, and it's their turn as they're trying to combo off. So yeah, like I said, it's a Maxx game, but my opponent started this Maxx fight, not me. So we're going to take a look at one last replay here before we finish off. And this final going second game is going to be up against Branded yet again. So let's see what kind of an opening hand we've got to stop their plays. All right, looks like we've got both Ash Blossom and Fidralis Harmonia. So they are going to lead with the incredible Ecclesia, the Virtuous, activating in order to summon from deck. I'm going to Ash Blossom here, which was yet another misplay on my part. You definitely should wait for Fawn of the White Dragon here every single time, because it could just have it in hand, and that's honestly the most important effect to negate. I don't know, I was just so trigger happy here. Well, it's weird though, because I feel like I should know that. I mean, they had call by, so it didn't end up mattering, but that doesn't mean it wasn't the wrong play, right? All right, now they're going to Synchro Summon for the Ecclesia and the Dark Dragon. When they activate here, I could have chained Fidralis Harmonia, but I wanted to see what they summoned and cause them to extend into more effects here. They're going to go for Springen's Kit for the Branded and High Spirits, and then they're going to use that in order to reveal Fuelos, Stump, Rindbrum, and then I believe they're going to add Cartesia here? Yes. So once they go for the Cartesia summon and then effect, that's when I'll make use of the Fidralis Harmonia. Yep, here's Cartesia F. I'm going to chain Harmonia. Reveal. Thankfully, it all resolves on the same, in the same effect. So I don't have to wait for one of the Synchro monsters to remove the Cartesia here. The Fidralis Harmonia will just pop it, before it has a chance to fuse away. And with Cartesia gone, they no longer have a target. Malong Bouncing Kit is kind of whatever here. I mainly just didn't want to give up any cards in my hand for Enigmaster Packbit. End phase, they'll add back Ecclesia and Cartesia, and then summon back Ecclesia and the Dark Dragon. All right, finding an Ash Blossom off the top here. So we don't really have any Elfnote plays, unfortunately, but we can still find ourselves some pretty good stuff to do here. We're going to go for Incredible Ecclesia effect. They are going to chain with Rindbrum to revive their Fallen of the White Dragon. Now we'll summon our own Fallen of the White Dragon, activate. They're going to use their own effect. This will pull out the Ecclesia from their graveyard, and I'm going to do the same. All right, now here they're going to use Ecclesia and the Dark Dragon effect. I decided to go for the Fidralis Harmonia here in order to remove it. And then we can also threaten to remove the Fallen of the White Dragon here. Now, they will still have the incredible Ecclesia the Virtuous, and my thought process at the time was, that's fine. I'll have lethal on board, I'll Ash Blossom it, they won't have any monsters in play, and I'll just win the game. But a lot of you are probably already seeing the issue with my plan here that I didn't. And that is, of course, the fact that my Ash Blossom got Callbide last turn, meaning that it's going to be negated this turn as well. I have not made that misplay in quite some time, but you know what? Nobody's perfect. That's honestly a lot of the reason. Well, we'll get into that at the beginning of the deck building portion. We'll talk about that a little bit. But yeah, as soon as they have the Dragon that Devours a Dogma with the unaffected up, the effect of that to be unaffected, yeah, we're just going to go ahead and throw in the towel there. So let me show you the deck list, and we'll talk a little bit about both the deck and these games. All right, so here is my list for branded Elfnote, and we are rocking a full playset of the Fidralis Harmonia because honestly, it doesn't really impact our strategy at all. Obviously, we don't care about not being able to summon Little Knight or Typhone, and as far as our fusion monsters, the main function for them is to either be dumped off Fallen and the Virtuous or to be used as materials, or rather as a summon for the Fallen of Albaz to go into. And Fidralis Harmonia will not stop Fallen of Albaz from using its effect. So even if we Harmonia and then use Albaz effect to fuse, like, yeah, we won't be able to activate Mirror Jade, but like, who cares? You already used Fallen of the Albaz to fuse away one of their monsters, which is the main function. Not only that, but the effect of the Dragon that Devours the Dogma that makes it unaffected, honestly, that doesn't activate, meaning that even if we're under Fidralis Harmonia, this will still be a Towers monster. So I think Harmonia fits in quite nicely here. But yeah, those replays were kind of rough, weren't they? You know, honestly, both my opponents and I were making some pretty egregious misplays in some of those games, especially me for getting the call by against Ash Blossom there. You know, but I don't really mind showing replays like that because I think that's a more honest experience of what playing ranked ladder is like, right? Like, yeah, I could just only cherry pick the absolute best games I play and only show you those, but that's honestly pretty dishonest, and I feel like learning and making mistakes is part of the process. I mean, this is something that I've said since the beginning of the channel, but you know, the main goal for me to making these kinds of YouTube videos here is that I really just want to give my honest experience playing Master Duel, and hopefully others can learn from it. And also I can learn from others in the comments who are saying stuff like, hey, you know, you could have done this here, or if you played this card, you would open up this line. I really appreciate that back and forth. It's honestly what's made me a better player as time has gone on. So yeah, like I said, I really don't shy away from making mistakes or owning up that I make mistakes. And I think that honestly kind of culminates to, again, a more true experience of what ranked ladder is like. I mean, hey, you know, even Joshua Schmidt at Worlds Ash Blossomed his own card, right? We literally all make mistakes. It's not something that I want to try to pretend doesn't exist. So anyway, that's pretty much going to do it for now. Thank you as always for watching. I super appreciate the support. So we're going to move now to our outro. That way we can thank our YouTube members and Patreon subscribers. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Thank you so very much for watching all the way to the very end of the video, which by the way is one of the best ways to support the channel. Speaking of supporting the channel, take a look at the names on screen. These are folks who have been so generous as to either join as a YouTube member or subscribe over on patreon.com/Hexlex to support. There's also perks for doing so. If you would like to see YouTube videos early, as well as some exclusive videos that get uploaded to YouTube, but for one reason or another I decide not to publish, definitely go ahead and hit that join button to see content early, as well as some exclusive content. If you're looking for more exclusive content, over on patreon.com, I upload exclusive videos that are not posted on YouTube just about every single day. Whether you choose to subscribe over on Patreon, join as a YouTube member, or simply continue to watch, your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you so very much. But for now, this is Hexlex. I am signing out, and I hope that you have a fantastic day.